Hi, how are you doing? Thank you. This to caption. Screen. Okay, so we are gonna do Unit 6 lab. Once you're logged on to the computer, we can download Kali virtual machine, VirtualBox. Or we can use the one that you currently have. That's up to you. Whichever is easier. So we're gonna work with Tor today. I think some of you are familiar with this, but it might be new for some. So it's good to kind of learn what Tor is and how this is used to access the dark web, right? Okay, I'll go ahead and get started. So today's lab consists of a few things, mostly in Kali as far as tools, and we're going to look at tools and how to use tools to investigate or research or basically gather information. Okay. So Tor is a way that you can search the web anonymously. Very different than what you see with Google or using Microsoft browser or Firefox. It is a way that we can implement what we call the Tor browser or Onion browser to be able to navigate through the web and hide our identity. Because all browsers are listening and all browsers are looking at who you are, right? There's privacy requirements, but we want to use Tor. So whenever that you hear the reference Onion router, you would refer this to Tor browser. Okay. So this was established in the military to be able to let the service communicated, but later on it kind of got into the public hands and it's being used quite a bit. So this is the overall summary of what that architecture would be like. So when you're accessing Tor, you're gonna use it as a client. And what that does is they do have different nodes in the network to serve different purpose. It never reuse the nodes. So you are going to see different IPs all the time or public IP. So the entry node and the middle node, it's going to pass your traffic forward. And then when you're trying to reach a certain website, right? Let's say a .com or whatever, usually we would use like an Onion or a Tor type of website. Using this, it's gonna be able to get you to it using the exit node. So the only node that's gonna see your destination is the exit node, right? The only node that's gonna see the Tor client is the entry node. In between, they don't see who you are, right? And you're using encryption, so it's not gonna be able to, your traffic is not transparent. That's the benefit of it. Now, this browser is notorious for being used in the dark web. So I want to show you how it's used and how we can use this to gather information. So let's say that you get a job as a security specialist or an analyst. Your job is to find out some information about, could be malware, it could be threat actor, right? Someone in your company committing fraud. And they're exchanging data on the dark web, and how do you go about doing that? So this is a way that we can use a browser to be able to investigate or gather information, right, for different type of purposes. So you can go to Kali, the link is here, right, and we can download our VirtualBox. Once you have that, it's going to come down in your downloads folder as a zip file. We would right click and then we would choose to extract file. Hello. And then once you extract it, it's going to be here, right? And all you have to do is open up the folder and then click the blue icon to launch your virtual machine. I have two. This is the one I tested, so I'm going to use the one on my desktop. Okay, which is brand new. So once you have double click it, just click start and your VM is going to start. Okay, so while it's loading, what we can do is we can take a look at the stat. So once you're logged in, it's always good before you start installing any software on Linux system is to do update. So we're going to push update. And then we're just going to install Tor. So anytime that you use Debian Linux, like Ubuntu, Raspberry Pi Linux, right? Kali, you can definitely use sudo apt install Tor. If you're using other releases, just making sure that you use the right command to do the install. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and log in. Kali. And once you're logged in, you're going to open up the terminal, which is here. And what we can do is, I'm going to go ahead and pull it this way so we can see both. Okay, so once we're in the desktop, we can simply click the terminal to open it up and it will look like this. Right? And then as you are on as a regular user, you just do sudo apt update. And it's going to ask for your password. So just type in Kali and it's going to go. All right, this takes a few seconds. It should be fairly fast. Now, depending on the Kali version that you use, sometimes, let's say I don't touch it for a year, I come back, update's going to be a little more, right? So once I finish the update, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do sudo apt install Tor, which is the application, right? Simply, we're going to install the application. And it's going to ask me, you sure you want to install? I'm going to type Y for yes, and it's going to go. And then after we do this, I put down that you should update again, which likely it's not going to pull too much. We just did update, so. But it's always best to kind of update after you have your software in case there's changes to it. So one of the things that you need is you need a signing key. This key is used by your nodes to be able to pass your traffic from one to the next, right? It's not going to see who you are or what machine or what system. It's going to identify you based on your key. So in order to generate your key, right, we're going to use GPG, and GPG is used for encryption purposes. So what you're telling it to do here is it's going to find the location, the repository where it's generating, it can generate a key for Tor browser for torproject.org. This is the website where it generates or it creates for Tor browser. So we're going to go ahead and we can copy this and we can come back to our terminal and we can paste it in, or you can type it. Okay. So what it's telling you is that right here is where you see the type of, so it's using RSA and the size is 4096. This is the encryption type and the size of the key, right? And so it tells you that it should expire in September. So you have a little bit of time once your key is expired. And then some information about your key here. Okay. So this is how you generate your key. Then what we want is we want to take that key and then we want to input it or output it into some kind of file. it needs to store permanently on that system that you're using to access. It's kind of like this is the key to open up the Tor browser. So we want to make sure that the Tor browser sees it. So we need to output this, right, and export it to your key ring. Okay, so I need to generate the key and I need to save it or output it as a file. It's not going to tell you anything there, only if you have some form of error, right? If you have some error, then it's going to tell you, oh, wrong or whatever, right? So I want to export this, and simply the value that you see there is a memory address or storage location where that key exists, right? We're not giving it a name. We're just saying that it's going to be stored at this location in our system by the address. Okay. And then after that, we can do an update again. So if you up arrow key a couple of times or a few times, you can run the update, which takes like a second. Now, even if we have Tor, we need to install the actual browser launcher, right? It is a way that we can use it as a browser, as an interface to that browser, because what you installed earlier is just Tor. This is how you're going to be able to interface with it. Okay, so we are going to do a sudo apt install Tor Browser Launcher. Okay, just like how you install Firefox or Google Chrome. And then it's going to ask you, do you want to install? Yes. Type Y and press enter. And it's going to do its thing. So what we did here was we installed the launcher, which allows you to access Tor. Now, in order to access it, we have to also think about how we would create an actual user account. Okay, so we can do this by doing an add user, and we want to specify that it's part of Tor user. So this is the directory where it's going to put it in, and it's going to use that directory to reference whichever user you create. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and copy this. And then here you want to put in a password for the user, the Tor user that you create. So when we're at step 16, we just give it a password. And in the documentation I put down, we're going to use onion and press enter to confirm, bless you, and then onion again. So here you can fill out the information. We've seen this before. We can say Tor user like this, or if you have an actual information you can put in, and when you just press enter, it's going to continue. We keep pressing enter to leave everything blank, right? We can skip the rest, and then at the end it says, are you sure? Just like when we added the user before, we want to say yes, and that's how you add the user. So it tells you here that the Tor user is going to be in the users group. Okay, and this is a way that we can add user in the Linux system, which is our host system now. So once you have your user account, this user, you have to be able to control its access. And we spent quite a bit of time in Windows Shell last week, right? Before we talked about how you can create the user. So the step is that even when you install the application, you need to make sure that you control who accesses that application, especially if it's security application. Okay. So in the next step here, 22, what we're going to do is we are going to get X host added to the Tor user. It's trouser. Funny how Microsoft Word just trying to change my... Okay, so for the Tor user account, we want to make sure that we assign them specific things, right? So we are going to do an X host. We're going to add it to the Tor user. And once you have that, what it's going to tell you is that it is now added to the access control list, your ACL, right? It is a local user, and our local user is the Tor user that was added to the ACL. Okay, and that's for Xhost. Then what we're going to do is we want to run it now as the user that we created. Okay, so we are going to use this user for the Tor Browser Launcher. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to run this. So once we have modified the access control list for that particular user to access it, right, we can execute the application with that user account. Okay, so it's going to give you a bunch of warnings. It says, oh, you know, this is the application it's installing. Now, this is your Tor launcher. Okay, so we did that. You are going to see the connect button. We're going to click connect here, and you can also configure connection if you like. Okay, so we're going to use the default setting, and we're going to click connect. What it's going to do is going to go out there and it's going to search for the entry node that's available to it. Remember earlier that you created a signing key. That signing key allows it to communicate with the entry node. So think of it like you need to get your web traffic from where you are, which is your Linux system, to, you know, somewhere in the dark web. And these systems are only talking to each other by passing their traffic anonymously, right? It won't know where your traffic is coming from, because the entry node is going to see you as a signing key, and it's going to pass that traffic to the next node, which is the middle node. And that middle node won't have any knowledge of you as a Tor user account on the Linux system. Okay, so this is completely anonymous. It's way better than VPN actually, but it's really used to access websites that you don't need identity for. Okay, so we're here, right? We click connect and you wait for the connection. So at this point, when you see the purple launcher, you're going to do a screenshot and you can paste it directly under 25 or in a document for submission. And the next part of this is I want to show you how you can use a la carte to add things to Linux menu. Because remember I mentioned about building your tool belt, right? Once you have your tool belt, what you can do is you can keep adding it to a certain menu, like how Kali has it categorized. We can make it a certain way in our application menu. So what we're going to do next is we're going to install a la carte. This is a way that we can customize our, and I can close this, right? Coming back here, I'm going to go ahead and paste this. I'm going to install a la carte. It's going to say yes or no, yes. Okay, we're going to customize our menu for our application. If you look at all apps, which is the dragon icon right here, right? You would see that Kali, they already customized some of it for you. So I want to teach you how you can do that. So once you install a la carte, right, in Linux, anytime after you do the install, if it installs successfully, you just call it by giving it the application name. Okay, so here is my terminal, and then I can do hello a la carte like this. And it's telling me now I can customize my menu. See that? Once I run a la carte, I can just say, oh, well, I want to add, right? So I'm going to click new item. And I'm going to give it a name. So Tor Browser. And we're on step 29. So in the name field, but in Linux, we got to give it the command. So whenever that you click on the application, it's going to execute that command that you give it right beneath, right? So you can either type this in. Let me see if it will take the copy and paste. I doubt it. Oh, it does. Okay, so we want to add in this command. So what it's doing here is it's saying that whenever I launch this Tor browser application, it's going to execute this, right? Just like what we've seen before, it's going to run the Tor browser launcher using the Tor user account that we created. Okay. And then once we do that, we click OK, and we're going to close here to close our menu. And then if you want to check, right, you can go back and you can take a look at it. So that's how you add things to your Linux menu on Kali using a la carte. Okay, now we're going to do part B. You said, so what, right? I can use Tor launcher to navigate through and maybe visit dark web. And a lot of people think that, oh, you know, these are just sites that's hosted by different servers, right? And if you read my notes from the above, you would need to kind of go through Reddit or forums to find out like what that was. In the past, I actually tested it with my other class. We went to a place where it's equivalent to Facebook, Instagram in the dark web, right? I think they took it down. So we were scanning against it one time. And then sometimes those sites are short-lived, right? There is dark web social media, which is crazy. But you can have sites like that to kind of look for things. And of course, there are ways to exchange drugs, you know, hire people to kill, you name it. That exists, right? But you have to look around. Okay. All right. So next we're gonna do Torgos. And Torgos, when I wrote this lab, I wanted to kind of tie this back to Tor browser on how you can use Torgos as a tool. So Torgos is a script. It is a way that you can do things anonymously. That means that it can't identify who you are. The more stealth we are, the better, right? Too much noise is not so good. So it is directing different traffic, and it's using SOCKS 5, and it's using Tor proxy. Very similar to what you've seen earlier, that you have these nodes passing traffic. Well, proxies are servers that's in charge of passing traffic back and forth. Sometimes it tells other systems, sometimes it's not. But in our case, we're going to use redirection of internet traffic. So instead of going from point A to point B, we're going to go from point A to point C and then point B. It goes through a way that we can mask our traffic through the middleman. And so, and I love to attack proxy. I think proxy gives me a lot of information. So if you understand, so proxy is kind of like the you know, if you ever do see Detour, you see, you know, the police or the guards that stand there and tell you where to go, right? It's exactly that. It's the police person that's telling you instead of making a left, you're going to have to go right and then another right to get to that left, right? So what you see is when you attack the proxy is going to tell you a lot of the traffic that's being redirected by the proxy itself. So we can get a lot of information about the system. So whenever that you visit the web, you're actually visiting a DNS, right? Domain name system. It's used to resolve IP to a URL like google.com. It's actually an IP address. Or YouTube is an actual IP address. We humans don't go around and say 114.23.6. whatever. It's difficult, so we make a system to do that for us. So what we see here is that DNS request and redirected through Tor is a better way to prevent some leakage. And this script disabled the unsafe packets from exiting the system. So it is a way that we can look at packets on how it is compromising identity. It is very good to use for testing purposes. So I want to show you some of the benefits for Tor Ghost as listed here. There's no ping being filtered because, they can put the firewall rule in to filter your ping, right? If they allow ping, Tor Ghost, because it's not seeing what that traffic is, it cannot filter it. So it's not being kicked out. Also, for the redirection through the network, any connection that tries to connect to the internet will pass through. It is dangerous, but safe at the same time. So you kind of have to see like, where is it safe and where is it not, right? If the attacker used this, it's really hard to detect. But if we're using it, it's hard for other people who scans us, right? Let's say that they're trying to see you, it's harder to see you, right? So stealth is good. And then it talks about proxy chain on how it can be ignoring in some application or requests and so on. So the way that you use it is once you have the installation of it, you can start, stop, or switch. Anytime that you start, it gives you an IP address, right? It's a different IP address all the time. Just think about it. If I'm driving down the road, like let's say on the highway, and it's getting detoured, right? There's a police guy that tells me detour on the right. But if I stop it, right, it's gonna refresh. And if I do a switch, it switch out the police guy, it switch out my proxy. So my redirection is a new IP address every single time. So it is cool, but at the same time, right, like it could be harder to track. So keep in mind that this can be used on both sides. So we want to know the tool and the technology. Okay. All right. So as this is written in shell and shell is C-based, we have to do a build. That means that we have to compile the program and then use some of the Python tools to be able to read it. So when you do build essential like this, it is a way that we would build the application. Okay. So coming back here, you can run this. So when we do sudo app install, build essential, this is a way that we can build the application in Linux. You're going to see a lot of that for C-based application. And it might say, ask you yes to continue. And then next we are going to clone. So this is the source code for Tor Ghost from Git. Okay, so basically I went and I copied the source code using git clone. Okay, so it's going to bring down the repository with the directory. Inside it, you're going to have a subfolder called Tor Ghost. So we have to navigate to it. So for some reason, when you close your terminal down the line, in order to run this application, you just got to make sure that you change your directory to Tor Ghost. Otherwise, it will not see your application. Okay, so I'm going to change my directory to Tor Ghost and I see my path this way, right? And then so once I do that, I need execution permission because, I'm on as a lowly Kali user. I need, if I'm not on this root, I need to make sure that I also need to change this for execution. So chmod allows you to change permission. And we want to run the build sh so it can build the application. Okay. So once we have that, and it shouldn't throw any error, right? Like I tested this lab 5 times. So, and then once we have that permission change, you're going to run the build. Okay. So the command for this is just build.sh. Okay. So again, it's going to tell you that, this is, you can see that it is a C base because they use include, right? If for those of you who know programming. So it says compilation terminated. It sees a python.h, but it doesn't know what that is, right? It can't find it. So what they did was they must have updated this And then it tells you some warning, have no fear, it's not bad. Sometime when you get crazy error because something's wrong with their code, then, so next what we're going to do is we are going to install Python packages, right? And the package that the module that we're going to use is request. And I love this module. Security people love this for the web. So request allows you to track HTTP requests. So we're going to install the Python module, which is like a file that they wrote for HTTP requests. Okay. Now, Kali comes with Python 3.10. I think most Debian Linux release does. If it doesn't, you have to install Python 3, okay, in order for a lot of these things to work. So once you have this, then you are going to call on Python version 3. We don't use version 2 anymore. That's been retired for a while now, right? And we're going to run the application as torghost.py, right? This is a Python file. And we're going to run the command with it called start, and we're going to start the torghost. So this is how you can run a Python file and a low-level command at the same time with that application, okay? So to save time, I'm just gonna copy and paste. Okay, so you might get a thing here where it's gonna pause for a little bit, right? If it's not giving you IP, right, run the next command, it's going to give you the IP. See, mine, it gives you the IP. Okay. No, the first one.
And if it doesn't give you an IP,
Rerun it.
rerun it?
Yeah. So it tells me here, right, it's configuring DNS and it's using the config file that comes with it. And then it's gonna start the new Tor connection. So the connection that we clicked earlier, it doesn't use the same connection that we established. Yes.
Mine didn't do that.
You do this. So Torgo sudo Python 3. Yeah, it should get the error there. Okay, so you do the you're already in Torghost. See your map right here? So when we do it again, it's not letting you there. So the inside is so just do CD. And then something to go to your first machine. It looks like it's hot. So go to the machine. There you go. And then do CD. So backspace. And then do CD by itself. Okay, press enter. And then now only do one time CD Torgo. So stop that second one.
Install Python, otherwise by app install, install Python CIS. Yeah, it's not recognizing. He's saying that you should. So run yeah, make sure that it's the totals. It's fine. No, I'm just saying it's better. It's fine. Yeah,
I know, but mine isn't working though. It's not, like when you do the file. So that,
Yeah.
that computer is done. So, you know, what to do. I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes it takes. Or you can go. Copy and paste it in. Yeah.
I don't know what.
Yeah, so when you do negotiation with you, see how. And then you can do the next step. So, is it working or no?
So, when I tried running, photos, it said there was a on the end.
Oh, so how do you? Why is it? How do you? I was kind of slow. Just send input signal, module, You have to go back to the. That's all, what is the. That's going to back. Or you can open it. But, yeah, I'm actually, I put it inside here, so we'll just do it. I don't know. No, it's not really Python. It's not running this file. It's thinking about it. Is that? Like, but it'll be able to run, but it's online, it does say the same. I don't know. It doesn't have the same thing. Yeah, I hear that. So I think. Find where we do this, and then to the computer. Sorry? Oh, no. Yeah. Let's do the next part first. Do the next part first, the next part, and then come back. Yeah, you might want to cancel and then restart. Yeah, sometimes they're illegal. It takes a second. Well, I'm not sure. But I downloaded it. Oh, I just downloaded it. So I just clicked it. Yeah. You think they're allowed? Being in school? It's like no.
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Oh,
That's already.
by any chance, is it, for the command line, was it Microsoft or was it, Microsoft, right? Wait, Microsoft or Microsoft? Let me see. Oh, no, on the actual, like, the lab. What is it called? The lines on there with, yeah. I thought it was. Yeah. It's not worth. What is, then it might be the version of Python. I know.
I don't want to go.
Well, the other one you kind of. That one, but when you switch it. Yeah, because when you do the transfer or go, yeah, and then you're waiting and then you're doing the IP address. Oh. Oh my. Well, so you're Python. Okay, any other questions? Microsoft online or? I think that's the site, it's not the PDF. Oh, I changed it. Oh,
Yeah, because I feel like we're invading there. But it's fine. Yeah, you can use either or. Yeah. So the A record is a way that it resolved the name to the IP, right? So think of it like, you know, how you have a nickname at home and your legal name, it uses that record to resolve your real legal name to your nickname, right? All right, where did I leave off? So I left off at Tor Ghost, and then when you do a switch like this, right? So basically, whenever you switch, you're supposed to get a new IP address. Okay. And sometimes you have to wait here a little bit. Right, it's fetching the current IP, and it's I'm on, you know, it's a little faster than some of your system, right? It's fine. So you notice that this is my public IP after I switch. Remember we talked about the traffic cop, right? This is the first traffic cop, right? And then I switch out the traffic cop, so it's using a different proxy for redirection now. Okay, so it's not reusing it. That's a good thing, because when we reuse it, it's basically traceable, so we want to not reuse it. Okay, so you should get different IP address, and then you're gonna go to open up your Firefox, right? And you guys seen this before. I think there are plenty of websites. So you're gonna open up what is myip.com, right? So you can use this, and what it does is it's gonna find my IP, right? So after all these other advertisement, so the 45, this is my public IP, right? This is what is used, what's the internet sees compared to my private IP, which is the 10.0.2.15. So it's like your private IP is like your name that they call you at home, your nickname, right? Your funny name. Or whatever name that they call you at home, and then your public IP is your legal name that the world knows you of, right? So this is my public IP for my system, but if I come back, if I close this, right, and I know you can copy this. So if I close this and I come back here, is it matching with this, right? Is it matching with this? So the point is for you to really see what is showing to the world as who you are and how you're connecting compared to when we're using something like Tor Ghost, right? Every time that you want to refresh it, basically it uses another proxy that connects you. So it tells the world that you are so and so, but it might not be exactly what it is that you are, right? You are who you are. You say you are. All right. So we can use this to be able to check, right? What is my IP.com? Okay. And then, and it tells you your IP location. Most of the time they would see you from North America and it would say that, right? And then is it the same as the number 48, right? What is your IP address? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So just hit Control C to cancel and then it will try to. Yeah, it's America. Yeah, on the website, it should identify based on your traffic. Okay, so when you stop, right, you just issue a stop and you can stop the Tor goes. And it should halt whatever that it's trying to connect, fetching IP. So I modified the highlighted stuff because I gone through and I tested it. Index name is no longer supported. So what we want is we want to use search exploit. So search exploit is a tool that comes with Kali. It's used for exploitation. And exploitation kits are very popular. There's so many different kits that gets released every year. So when you go to our applications, right, and if you go to exploitation tools, these are some of the ones that are equipped with Kali, right? Metasploit is very common. This is like favorite things for ethical hacking, right? And then you can do search exploit. So once you open it up, it looks very similar to your command line, but this is its CLI, okay? And you can simply issue this command, okay? Search exploit, okay? So I'll just type it in. Mm-hmm. Say it again. So it's not able to see, then put that. So when you do this, what you can do is it's going to give you the exploitation information about different things, right? Like MP3, you know, there's tons of stuff, right? Zoom, right? Who doesn't have Zoom? Okay. So zone alarm, right? This is a host-based firewall that people install. So there's so many different things. And so what you can do, originally I had it searching for name index, so you can search for certain exploit. And this is a repository of different exploit that you can find, right? So if someone's sitting there looking for like different type of exploit based on the application, right? Like I can do zip and go overflow. There's so many ways that I can exploit certain tools, okay? So I want to show you how you can find that, right? And then let's find something in Windows. So instead of using just the exploit keyword, we want to say Windows. And we would see a lot of stuff for Windows. So this is the 32 bits, right? x86. So there's a lot of issues with Windows, as you can see, but the older stuff, XP, right? We don't use XP anymore, and even on testing. Okay, so there's some stuff that's related to the newer version. So that's what you see with exploitation. Okay, all these malware that comes out that exploited, you know, the vulnerability in Windows, that's because it's utilizing some of the exploitation there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do the dnsenum, okay? And this is a way that we can use the script to look at your records, right? MX is for mail exchange. That's used like your outlook.com, right? When you're using RCCD email, it uses the MX record to resolve your email account to the domain and your mail server. And then your A record is used to reference what that server name is and how that IP address is configured for that server. Okay, there's the quadruple A, there's the A record. A record is for IP version 4 compared to the version 6. Okay, so what they can do is if they want to attack, remember what I said, all web server is tied to a domain name server, right? Like your google.com, your youtube.com. So if I want to enumerate a server, a DNS, this is how I do it. I use dnsenum. Okay. And then you type in the URL, thisSite.org. If you look at that website, it's very genuinely good, right? So see how it tells me that there's no NS record query, it's failed, right? So I have to find other way to find my NS record. And I did a whole lecture on DNS and also services. So you're gonna see this a lot. DNS weakness is very common. So what we can do is we can find ways to enumerate it, right? It tells me the address, it has an A record, right? So this is how we can find records for a certain server. What is shown for your A record? You would see your A record is tied to the port and also the IP. And you can try Microsoft, right? Earlier, I had changed this from hack this, so yeah.
So, you put port and IP, you won't put that IP address for, NMA.
For 45A?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it shows your A record and it's correlated this URL to this IP. That's what it's doing. It's kind of like how your name is tied to your home address. It's like that. That's the A record. So the post office person that delivers your mail always gonna associate your name to your address like that. Okay. Now, and it tells me there's no NS record query failed, so it's not able to do that. So another tool that you can use is dnsmap. This is a way that we can find additional information about a contact, individuals, associated information with the domain itself. Okay. And so in enumeration, what you would see is that you would use the target IP address, domain name, or phone number, and it is a way that we can find additional information under the subdomain. Because, like, for example, you would have google.youtube.google.com, right? That's how their server is for the child domain. A company would own other companies this way, where they would have a domain, and then within that, you're going to have subdomains because, you know, it's easier to manage, centralize. So what this will do is it's a way that we can look at how zones are set up in the parent and the subdomain. Okay. And we can also find remote access information, issues that vulnerable servers. You can look at ways to look at IP address internally for the subdomain. You can also find embedded devices. We actually have better tools than this for embedded devices. So embedded devices are likely IoTs, right? Your IoT system, your Internet of Things like security, IP camera, or smart TVs, things like that. Okay. So this is a way that you can find information easily. Okay. So you can use it against any URL that's allowed. Okay. So dnsmap. And it tells me, oh, I don't have it. Yes, install it, please. And put in your password. Or you can start out with sudo app install dnsmap, okay? So once I install it, I gotta rerun the command, okay? We're gonna finish early today. Because normally I keep you here until like 8. Okay. So this might take a little bit. Sometimes fast, sometimes slow. It depends on the actual website or the domain itself. So once you get some information, you want to put down the details. The point in this is to use many tools that you can find about certain domain. Right? This is the information gathering, right? This is what we call gathering intelligence. So the more information you gather, the easier it is down the line for you to do some work. But sometimes, even if you gather a lot of information, it might not be useful 3 steps from now, right? We start all over again. Okay. Any question? Their firewall's probably up, so let me see. I'll run it again against another website. So let's see. Random relay. Okay, so if, let me see. Yeah. They're probably blocking. Okay, so after the mapper, you're gonna use the DNS tracer. This is gonna find the host name, so your server name here. And once we have the server name, we can do a lot with it, right? We can check for some information on it, like the OS and so on, where it is in the network. So there are a lot of ways that we can use it. Okay, so we're gonna use this now. LBD is important. You wanted to see how the traffic is load balancing. That means that they usually use load balancing. So remember I talked about the traffic cop earlier, right? They might have 1,000 traffic cop that is sending different, redirecting traffic in different ways. It really depends on how large that network is. So what we can do is we can find some information about who is handling that, right? Every network has some form of load balancer. It's kind of like this. You're on the 215 freeway and there's always traffic, right? You hate it. It's 5 lanes and it's packed with cars. But if there's a way that they put traffic cop there to regulate the traffic where people don't rubberneck or, cause slow down, right? It would be helpful. And that's what we do in networks. We put different things to load balance. For example, if I can push a lot of cars onto the carpool lane and let it pass quicker and open up the lanes for the other drivers, right? So that's called load balancing. It's a way that we prioritize certain traffic on a certain path to make it faster, right? To be able to kind of open up our bandwidth for a priority use. So what we do here is it's a way that we can increase the capacity of your bandwidth and the reliability by shifting things a certain way. And a way that we would do is we would add servers to handle or appliances to handle traffic, right? Like proxy. So proxy servers are traffic cops. So what I can say is I can put 1,000 proxy server and say, okay, you can, number one, send traffic this way. Number two, send traffic another way. So that way it's not congested in one location, right? So it's a way that we can increase the bandwidth. So when you do an LBD to a DNS, you will find out its load balancer, okay? Now, from an attacker standpoint, if they gather the information from here, right, they can cripple the DNS and the web server by jeopardizing those, right? Or finding how things get into and out of the actual server, right? Because basically you're taking a snapshot of how the traffic is flowing, right? Who's controlling that traffic? That's what you're doing. And then I decided to do this as an optional because I realized that not everybody have an Instagram account. So if you really want to find out someone, right, from a certain organization, you can use OSINTagram. OSINT is a way that we can use for intelligence gathering. And what you can do is you can find a lot of information, right? Without, even if they keep it on private. So you can find, you know, what kind of email addresses that's tied to that individual or the actual registered address and photos. You can also find some caption information, their followers, who are they following? You can also find emails and things like that. Hashtags that they use, because those are the common thing. So to pull it, you're going to clone it from this repo, right? The developer, they release this. Then just like before, you're going to change it into this directory and you use Python to build it, okay? So here is where you install the requirements for the application. Then you get into the config. And then you're going to create a configuration username. So if you have an Instagram account, you can put in your Instagram account information. So for example, like user123@instagram.com, right? So put in that, save the file, and then you're going to add another configuration file for the password. Now, from an external standpoint, they're not going to have a password, okay? What they can do is they can try to use some of the fake or generic password that people use, right? Some people, they have password 12345, that they might use that. Or sometime that they would Google some information and they would use some, you know, kid's name, password, pet's name, stuff like that to see if it works. So anyways, assuming that you're able to have the username and the password, you're able to set up the configuration using JSON. And what it's going to do is it's going to pull a lot of information about that particular Instagram account, more than you know. So how is this used? This used on executives, right? It's used on a lot of people who are committing fraud. People put stuff on social media, you know, to brag or whatever. We can find that information. So, you know, so this is a cool way to kind of use intelligence gathering tool on social media. There are others. I actually have one that crawls through all social media. I'll share it with you later, where you just put in an email address and it will find it. Okay. Yeah. Everything is discoverable. Just give it time. People are like, how do you find out what address I live so quickly? And I just said, you know, if you just give me time, I can find anything. Nothing, even Google, right? You can find. So, because like people are surprised that I'm able to find their address, like where they live and who they are. You'd be surprised what kind of information that you have on the web. So, you know, 7 layers out, right? If you share it with someone share it with someone share it with another person. So imagine that your information goes 7 layers out. Okay. So if you want to try this, you can try it, right? You know, at your own risk. No, but you can use an Instagram account. Okay. Any question? Yeah, let me see. I'm not able to get the map going. I did earlier. Let's try DNS tracer.
I'm still stuck on like the white, letters instead of the Cali. How is this one?
Where does it get stuck? Oh, I'm in Torgos. Well, yeah, mine was stuck on there too. I think you have to expand it, but yeah, you can't, mine was stalled there too. But when I ran it before, because I think we're all doing the same thing to the same target, it's not responding. Either that or they're just kicking us out. Okay, so let's say how many tries were generated. I think it would tell you how many tries and what information is received is it's gonna tell you the information about the DNS itself, but you can skip 52 if it's not giving you anything. Sometimes some tools is just gonna, like I said before, patience, right? This is something that you're not doing it on the fly. You have to kind of give it time, right? Especially if you guys are taking my forensic class, just make sure, right? You come in with the Zen mind. It's gonna take hours, okay? Because a lot of times we're like 5 seconds and we're like, oh, Control C to quit. It doesn't work that way in the you have to wait. Yeah, I don't understand why. I think there's something that's weird with your with the Python version on your this is give me a sec. I mean, walk me through install Python version. I think it's sudo. You check to see if yeah, try this. Put in Python 3 space dash dash version. See if it's pulling up a version like this. Can you see?
Yeah, no.
It's the same version?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do sudo app update real quick. So I'm gonna redo 32 with you. Give it one more shot, okay? So I'm gonna install Build Essential, press yes. Okay, so it puts the Build Essential there, and then we'll just clone it. You can clone it anywhere. I'm already in Torgo, so I'm just gonna clone it there. You can clone it in another. And then I'll get inside that one. Let me just do this. So I'm inside another one, right? And then we're gonna do a build for the shell. And then rerun the build sh. Yeah, so you shouldn't get that warning like you have. It should be like this. Even though it says fatal error.h like that. But it, you know how yours was giving you one.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're still getting that, right? Yeah, I see. Well, it's okay. I don't wanna make you download and redo it again. Yeah. So that's okay. Ultimately, it should give you an IP, so you can work with someone next to you and use that IP address. I think she got it already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You can work with him on this part.
Yeah. And now that's just shut down. Yeah, so you probably have to install. Yeah. I got it. And then also. And then I see things forward and. You know, I don't like him. Yeah. Yeah, I know who and we install that's the best thing. What happens is it's putting your home directory, which is, you know, it's tying it all. So that like, it gives that activity. Excited about this. Because ultimately it's tied to how so if we have issues with 39. Okay. So what we learned today, we learned how to use Tor, right? We learned how to use Tor Ghost when it's not giving us problem. We learned how to use search exploit, which allows us to find exploitation in different OS and application. We learn how to use DNS tools such as enum, map, and tracer when it's working. And like I said before, these open source tools change. So sometimes things work nicely, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they add feature or subtract feature. So you just gotta make sure that you look. If your information is not coming back from these websites, that's fine, right? But I want to share with you what these tools are, what each of the tools does, and then what is supposed to, what you're supposed to get. And then you can do load balancer. You learn how to use load balancer on the web server or on the DNS, right? Using HTTP load balancer.
So this is for serving the web, okay? They do this is because you're gonna get a lot of traffic coming in, as far as requesting, the main websites. So this is a good way to kind of lift off some of the congestion to the actual server, right? To slow it down. Back in the day, when you access the website, you just wait forever because a lot of traffic coming that way too, right? And over time, we learn how to use technology to its best to kind of lift off some of the traffic for us. And then the optional exercise, you learn how to use oscintogram. Okay. All right. Any questions? Okay, so let me stop